Okay. Again, good evening. Thank you so much for being here this evening. The meeting will come to order and the clerk will please call the roll of City Council and the Board of Education.
Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Did I hear? Okay.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Lupian.
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Pio. Vice President Lightfoot. President Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Adams.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner LeBron.
Here.
Commissioner Malloy.
Here.
Commissioner Powell.
Present.
Vice President Elliott. President Scott. I'm sorry, President White. Other board. I see.
Good evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I ask the council and the board to please join me for a moment of silence. Councilmember Gruber, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for joining us for the budget public hearings. We are streaming tonight's hearings live on our social media YouTube channel. In an effort to provide individuals with increased access, we have provided the public with 3 ways to participate in our public hearings tonight. Individuals are able to send in email comments to be read by our staff. They could leave voice messages, which we can play live on air and participate via Zoom. If speakers are participating via Zoom, we ask they address the council and board with the same respect they would expect and to avoid the use of profanities. A staff member will notify speakers when they have 30 seconds left, and speakers will be removed from the Zoom call once their time has expired. If you're participating on Zoom and watching a live stream on your YouTube, while you are in the meeting's waiting room, please remember to mute that live stream before entering the Zoom meeting, or you will hear a confusing echo of yourself. I would like to remind participants and those watching online that the council and the board are here to listen. Listen to the comments presented before us tonight, and as such, it is standard that we do not respond during this session. We will now begin the public hearings.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for the 2021-22 fiscal year, appropriation of sums set forth therein, and approving commercial refuge fees. Introductory number 250. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. The first speaker is Pia Moeller, and she'll be joining us by Zoom.
They are not in the reading room.
Okay. Katie Adamitis, Zoom.
So far, we do not have anyone in the waiting room.
Dr. Kyle Barber, Zoom. Okay. Bridget Hurley, audio.
Hello, this is Bridget Hurley from the Children's Agenda.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Today, the Children's Agenda released its executive summary of our annual review and recommendations of the city's proposed budget. I'd like to share several major points from our report with you today. One, there are many creative initiatives in the budget, particularly in the Department of Recreation and Human Services. We commend the city for responding to crises in health, employment, violence, and racism. We also recommend that the initiatives be evaluated to determine if they are meeting stated objectives. Second, the core purpose of offering recreational opportunities and youth services should not be lost in the many changes to the Department of Recreation and Human Services. DRHS should adopt an effective strategy to reduce violence and promote positive outcomes for youth by fully funding quality youth development programming provided by well-compensated, trained, and consistent full-time staff. Third, the budget proposes a $4.5 million cut to the police department's budget, but it is not a substantive cut given that most of the reduction comes from the positions that are authorized but vacant, and from the relocation of animal services and family and victim services to the Department of Recreation and Human Services. We recommend that $10 million should be reallocated from the police department budget and redirected to an assessment of the needs of Rochester's youth, especially those who are disconnected from school and employment, and collaborating with them and with community partners to design responses that support their social emotional wellness and are not connected with law enforcement. Fifth, we hope for an increase in transparency, participatory decision-making, and accountability in the year ahead as we emerge from the pandemic and as we make decisions about the new federal resources coming into the city. Finally, we commend the city for fully funding the Police Accountability Board, for continued investments in preschool summer programs and the GROW developmental screening program, and for deeper implementation of the budget equity program. Thank you.
Maya Johansson.
My name is Maya, and I'm writing to demand justice and accountability in Rochester and a budget that divests 50% of the annual funding from RPD over the next 4 years. Until you take bold, meaningful action to reimagine public safety, Black people in Rochester are not safe. Fully fund the Police Accountability Board, Crisis Intervention, and the Office of Neighborhood Safety. Thank you, Maya.
Katie, is anyone in the waiting room that I called? Okay, that concludes our speakers for that hearing.
If there are no more speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: local improvement ordinance, street cleaning, street and sidewalk snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair commencing July 1st, 2021 and expiring June 30th, 2022, introductory number 254. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
If there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Okay, I'm sorry, I guess I skipped one, so I need to go back.
That was 54, right? So now we got to do 251.
51, yes. Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of budget estimates for school purposes for the 2021-22 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 251. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. There are no speakers.
There are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: confirming the assessment amounts and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2021 and expiring June 30th, 2022. Introductory number 255. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
There are no speakers. That hearing is closed.
Okay. That concludes
So
the speakers.
that concludes our public hearings for the 2021-22 budget for the City of Rochester and the Rochester City School District. The budgets for both the city and the school district will be voted on at our City Council meeting on Tuesday, June 15th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you. We are adjourned.